Okay, RC, rank carcass, whatever you want to call me there. Global War 3645. Turn summary. We've just finished January 45 and we're moving on to July 1945. Quick little summary here on incomes. Let me just. French and Vichy still tied at 2. FEC's down to 4. Australia is at 7. Netherlands is at 10. British is to 17. Italians are at 18. Japanese are at 43. Russians are at 50. 64th for the Americans. And 75 for the Germans. There's been a few ups and downs here. And that's just where we finished off. Tech-wise, I forgot to show this. I just realized Germany had a free tech roll, which they didn't use this turn. So they rolled a 7, thankfully. And they're one stage away from long-range aircraft, so they have the option to roll it. The only reason I started rolling this one is it was a tech that was possible to get by the end of the game. As soon as it became impossible, I was going to stop rolling it. And the Americans finished off this tech jet aircraft, so they got these 4 for their victory point. And speaking of points, let's move on to that right away. We've had some changes. So the U.S. have taken back the Philippines, so they now have all their original territories, and they finished that tech, so they got an extra buck, 2 points from that. Anzac has no enemy warships or enemy troops in or south of the Dutch East Indies, so it gets a point now too. So the Allies have gone from 3 to 6 at the end of the turn. Germany, no, Japan lost a point. Can't remember. For the Philippines. Yeah, that was worth 1 of their points. So Japan lost the Philippines, so it's down to 4 instead of 5. So that's where it lost that. So when the U.S. gained a point, the Axis lost the point. And then over here we have Germany attacking the USSR, so the point that they had for the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact locations, they don't have them all anymore, so they lost a point there. So they went from 12 to 11, 14 to 13, and 3 to 6. So that's how the points are working here. That's the change between the start of the second last turn and the start of the last turn. So we'll see what changes happen at the very end of the game here. We're on this side of the map here, so let me just crank you up a little bit so you can actually see something instead of just, hey, that's right in my face, and otherwise you can't see a thing. Okay, so let's look at the build chart first. Build chart, these things got moved forward. These are the only things that are going to be able to be placed on the last turn if the U.S. doesn't forget. These things haven't been worked on this past turn because, well, 1, they forgot about them. And 2, they had other things that were higher priority. So they didn't spend the money on those things. Otherwise, they might have been built. All right. So, let's see. As you can see, Australia has moved a transport up here, maybe to assist here or counterattack a Japanese assault or who knows what. That was before the U.S. went. The FEC lost their capital to Japan via a combined amphibious assault and a land assault from Bengal. They, as a result, took Punjab away. They weren't going to leave their troops here because the Japanese can just attack, but the Japanese can't blitz, so they can only move 1. So might as well take that place and that place from the Russians. They tried here but failed, so they retreated back to New Delhi. All right. We've had a couple of exchanges here in the Navy. I can't remember exactly where we are. These British the Australian and Dutch combined with the Air Force here took out a couple of light carriers and aircraft from the Japanese. That's handy. The Americans rolled in here and they did a combined amphibious assault with this stuff down there. Oh yeah, we got to roll this commander and see if he gets to run away. He was in the Navy, so he gets a 1. If he gets a 1 or a 4 or anywhere in between, anything 4 or less, he gets to run away. So let's see. Nope, he's dead. So Japan gets the roll for that commander next turn. I'll just put him on top there. The British also lost a commander with their navy over there, which doesn't exist anymore. So yeah, this is all that the Americans have, really, is this, right? And for points, they both, the Japanese and the Americans, are combined. They both have 5 capital ships. And with this here, the Japanese are only going to have 7 versus 5. So in order for them to win, they got to somehow eliminate 2 Japanese, or to win that point, they have to eliminate 2 Japanese capital ships. These ones are kind of, we'll see what happens here, but there's 4 here and 1 there, right? So we'll see. Germany attacked Russia. So Russia moved its troops and staged up to be either in a position to attack Japan if it felt so inclined, or to have twice as many dudes on the border, which is an automatic point as well. So we'll see how things go at the end of the Russian turn. This is their last kick at the cat here, so we'll find out. And if you kick my cats, I'll kill you, but it's just an expression. Anyway, so the Russians built some troops down here. The Italians just, nobody really took anything, I don't think, this turn. They just consolidated what they had. Right. Germany had a big force in here that they moved forward up to there. And then Russia counterattacked it. So Italy gathered up some non-combat moves and via transport and rail and all that other, and aircraft and whatever, and landed a bunch of stuff in here. I thought it was an Italian thing when it was on the Russian turn, but there was a Russian torpedo boat destroyer in here, so this and those aircraft took it out. The only ships that the Italians built, these ones, but otherwise they only had their capital ships in here, because it was a very, very busy naval battles in this section of the map. I have uploaded 3 parts to this video, and in all 3 of those parts, for either Germany or the British or the Italians or the Americans, all of those 4 nations have done a successful attack on or will have done a naval attack in the Atlantic. And things have changed each time, and I can't really recall exactly what happened. I know the British came and attacked the Germans somewhere. I think it might have been here. It could have been there. I can't remember. And they got wiped out. Then, I think it was actually here. Then the Italians came out and they attacked over here, and they got wiped out. So the Americans then tried to eliminate that German fleet, and there's not a lot left. And on the last round, they had only one dude alive there, so they retreated to go protect their transports. Britain did come in to making a successful landing here. Let's see, how did things work here? Okay, so the Americans, or the British and the Americans combined, had this place. The Germans walked in there and they crushed them. And then the British came in here and landed here, and the Americans reinforced it. And the French, this cruiser wasn't here, it was just a couple of subs, and they declined combat, so the French brought their transport in here and dropped off these dudes here. It's worth nothing, but it's a landing zone, I guess, right next to Gibraltar. I don't think it's going to really make a difference, though, so we'll find out. And I'm just allowing access to YouTube so I can upload my part 3 video. I'm doing that right now. There we go. So, I don't really know what else happened here. Oh, convoys here. The British got hammered by the Germans on convoys. The Germans took 5 out of 5, 5 out of 6, and we did the Suez Reroute this turn, so they actually took 6 off the British on this line, and there was still 1 available from the French, but we haven't taken that If you're not sure about the Suez Reroute, I can't remember what page it is exactly, but if you take a look here, let me back up enough. If you take a look at the map here, the Suez, the Mediterranean line goes from here in Sea Zone 79 all the way through the Med, and it stops at Suez or Cairo here. There's no way for the British to get anything in here, so if one side that has no factories, like it's different if it, because Italy and Germany can produce stuff on this side, right? But the Allies have no access via Gibraltar or Suez. So technically, if Suez falls, you can reroute the convoy line, and you just cut it in half. So 3 and 3 for the British, and 1 and 1 for the French, and you just add them to these lines here. So you got the Cape Town London line, instead of being 3, it's now 6 and 1 for the French. And then you have this East African line, instead of being 1 and 1, it's now 4 and 2, right? And that's just a way to cut it in half. This line still exists here. It doesn't affect this thing here. So, all right. That's in the alternate rules at the end of the rule book, just before they do the little strategies and game notes section there. They have other options about aircraft carriers and stuff like that. That's actually where mountains and whatever are. And speaking of which, mountain is an alternate rule. You don't have to play with it. Same with rivers. I'm just throwing them in there because I'm doing a video. But yeah. Okay, what else happened here? So that's the Navy, the landings there. That's the whole Med, and so in Africa, South America, nothing happened. North America, there's been a little bit of building and relocating of troops and stuff, but that's really all they have for. This is the Allied Navy right now. There's 2 destroyers and 3 transports for the British, 4 transports actually. And we got 2, 4, and 7 transports, 2 coastal subs, 5, 6 destroyers. Oh no, we got 6, 7, 8 transports. All right, I didn't see that one over there. And we've also got 1 damaged Iowa class battleship, so it can only take 1 more hit. That one only takes 2 hits, by the way. It's not like the Yamamoto. It just you pay a little extra to shoot harder and move faster. That's all you're doing with that one. Yeah, so that's not much. And then if you compare that to the Italians, they have their 1 cruiser and a commander that ran away from the battle, 2 battleships, 3 transports, that torpedo boat destroyer, 2 destroyers and a sub, and a carrier loaded. And then all this German stuff. What do we have here? We've got 6, 7, 8 subs, 9, 10 subs, 1, 2, 3, 4 destroyers, and 2 damaged battleships and a cruiser, all sitting around. And oh yeah, and a carrier was a couple of jets. That was the best thing that the Americans did. They've got 2 hits on the aircraft with their fighters, and they took out 2 jets from the Germans. Wonderful thing. So the other thing that the Germans did, they took their transports that were originally located here and a cruiser along. Actually, no, the cruiser was a line from Finland. And here, let me just line that up a little bit. It looks crazy when I got it angled at a funny angle here. All right. So, I'm going to aim this down a little bit so I can explain this a little bit better. And you can see it a little bit better. Okay, so what do we all got going on here? So from Romania and Donetsk, and all sorts of places, I can't remember where they all came from. We had a couple of blitz moves as well, so they attacked Bessarabia here and were successful. And they left these infantry behind, which I'm knocking over, and I need to know where they belong. Then they blitzed in and they took the city there. Russians bombed it back with their strategic, so they can't build anything. It's max damaged at 5. So they're going to have to pay off the 5 to build the unit there. They may do that. They may not. Then we got a bunch of other units here in Western Ukraine. Donetsk here is full, or no, not Donetsk, Lubel. I can't read it, so I can't. It's covered up. The north eastern section of Poland, and what did we also take? Lithuania and Latvia, and then they took some transports and scooped some dudes up and dropped them off in Viperi, which was undefended, and walked a bunch of guys over there and drove them over there from the Norway and Sweden and whatnot. I'm not sure exactly where they all came from now. So numbers wise, it's not looking that great for the Germans, but it's not looking that bad either. So Germany wants to make some points, and Russia doesn't want them to make these points. So Germany's already got this place here, Bessarabia and Western Ukraine, and they just, if they can get Belarusia here, that's a victory point right there. Another option, it's one or the other, right? They either get that one or they take Estonia and they hold Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia. That's another point for them. And they already have one city in Russia. So if they can either take this city, I can't remember what the heck that one is called anymore, or this one. There's too many cities in here. I don't want to screw it up and say the wrong thing. Where are we? There we go. Smolensk. You can either take that, or they can take Leningrad up here. And they do have the troops to take either one, but they don't have the troops to take both. And the question is, if they take either one, can they manage the counterattack? Oh, sorry, I should have moved that forward for you. So yeah, Germany's got this one city here. If it can take either this circle here, which is a city, or that one, it will get another victory point as well. And every place that it owns in an enemy's home country is a point that the Russians don't get. Now, I didn't add that up because technically Russia's at 11 points, I think I have them. No, 9. But if you add that up properly, then take Bessarabia, Western Ukraine, and Kiev off. And now Russia's actually minus 3 points for that, right? So instead of getting 9, they're only at 6, right? So that's, unfortunately, the reason I dislike that rule is it only really affects Russia, because Germany's pretty small way over there. The island up there, continental U.S., the lower 48, that's a long way away from everybody else. The island of Japan's hard to get to. Anything on here? Australia or New Zealand? That's really the home countries. Oh, and Rome. And for Paris, well, see, that's the problem. This will also affect the French, right? Because they've lost every 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? They lost all 6 of their home territories. So France is going to get no points from that either if you add that up that way at the end of the turn here. So we'll see what happens. We'll definitely see what happens. So yeah, that's a quick rundown on what's going on. This next turn is going to get a little bit gamey, I think. Like even some of this is pretty stupid gamey, right? If you had 3 or 4 turns left as the Americans, you wouldn't have launched in here. What you would have done is you would have kept your Navy back here, or even over here, and you would have just kept building it up, building more transports, bringing them down, building transports, bringing them down, making a bunch of destroyers, bringing them down with it, and you wouldn't have been attacking with 2 transports and 4 dudes. No, not a chance. You'd be coming in here and you'd just spam attack everything on the coast, or you'd be fighting the Navy with all your transports separate while you were, taking all the islands away. But unrealistically, this game has a set amount of turns to end, which is kind of why I don't like that part of the game, because it gets gamey at the end. Real gamey. But so be it. And it was insane. I'm just going to show you this little pile of carnage. So that is the collective losses from this turn. Yes, January 1944 had this for losses. Everybody's got losses in here except for the Dutch and the Australians, or the Anzacs, sorry. And yeah, there's the chips that go along with them, right? I mean, there's a 5er, there's a bunch of green ones, and for 3s, and it was stacks of this and stacks of that, and piles of this, and there's where all the navies are on the war, from the war here. Pretty much almost all the naval pieces have been eliminated except for these few little stacks that are left. And now we're ready for the last turn of the game. We'll see what happens. Yeah, I'm not really sure what we're all going to do here. But we're going to end it here, and I'm going to say thank you very much. So, yeah, as we sit here, I know I already went over these points, but I'm just going to reiterate it again, right? France has got a point, but it's lost all those territories at home, so that gets negated. The U.S. has everything at home. Great Britain has everything at home. Anzac's okay. Germany, Italy, Japan, they got everything at home so far. USSR actually lost 3 locations at home, possibly more this coming turn. Oh no, they lost 4. So they're down 4, right? So they're 9 minus 4. You know, they only have 5 points actually. So 5 plus 2 is 7, right? So they're at 7. The Allies are at 6, but they should lose 1, so they're technically at 5, right? And then the Axis are at 13. So what that tells me, if I'm either the Allies or the Axis, I'm going to do some stupid shit. I'm not going to attack each other like we should be. We're just going to focus solely on attacking the Axis, just to chip away at these points and to gain your own points, right? It's going to get gamey for that reason too, right? Because, you know, they're currently fighting for second place, but if they can knock a few points off of these guys, then it won't be second place anymore, and maybe they'll be fighting for first place, and this guy might get dropped down to second. It's unlikely, though. I don't think there's a chance that the Allies Axis are going to lose this game, even if Japan gets totally slaughtered and loses a couple of its points. I think the Germans and the Italians are going to be more than enough to match, especially if they keep hauling out places from here. And they can kind of spam attack and take stuff, so we'll see. Russia's got to really spread around and take a lot of places worth a buck, like Iraq, for example. Maybe Madras, maybe Benares, stuff that they can take. New Delhi, maybe. You know, they got to get moving and attacking. Anyway, I'm going to leave you there, and I'm going to stop this video, and we will see you for July 1945, and have fun.